Hello all. I, Amita Dokle, welcome you all at NASSCOM Tech Innovation Conclave 2021. In this session titled A Journey from Reactive to Predictive Maintenance, our esteemed panelists will talk about how enterprise asset management can be leveraged to take this journey. I would like to invite Shrikant Nistane, co-founder at Crave InfoTech. Crave InfoTech specializes in helping organizations to migrate from reactive to predictive on the maturity curve. Shrikant is engineer at heart and goes by title Solution Architect. Shrikant did his engineering in electronics by MBA from Babson College in Boston. Shrikant enjoys helping organizations globally to achieve their digital transformation goals for asset management. Welcome, Shrikant.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So today's topic is journey from reactive to predictive, close to the heart of a lot of engineers. It's a dream coming true. I would like to welcome today's panelist, and I will go by the order I have with no means who is first or second. So let me introduce Sumit Mitra. He is the Director of Strategy and heads the lubrication business systems for SKF in India. Sumit is B in Electronics and Telecommunication from MIT Pune and has done his MBA from IIM Calcutta. Apart from bearings, for which SKF is well known, SKF offers a portfolio of products and services around rotation solutions such as seals, lubrication systems, and condition monitoring and reliability services. SKF mission is to help our customers improve the performance and reliability of their rotating equipment while reducing emission and waste. Asset efficiency optimization is central to this mission. Welcome, Sumit. Let me introduce Dr. Navil Shetty. Navil leads the Global Asset Management Center of Excellence within the SNCL Group. He is also the chair of the Knowledge Leadership Group of the Institute of Asset Management and has played a leading role in development of ISO 55000 suite of asset management standards. He has advised numerous public and private sector organizations around the world in adopting asset management best practices and driving significant benefits from it. Welcome, Navil. Let me introduce Satya Dhulipala. Satya leads the IT arm of Global Technology Life Sciences Management Group within Schlumberger. We all know Schlumberger. This is 13 years, in his 13 years with Schlumberger, he has been in various roles in technology, life cycle management, group of organization in operations before moving into IT arm, leading and delivering various transformative digital solutions on the EM side of things. So welcome, Satya. So guys, so we have ample time today. Of course, the time is never, time is always short. And today's topic, again, I'll repeat the journey from reactive to predictive. And in this topic, we intend to cover and discuss several areas which will help our audience to understand where we are today, a context from global to India, and then we'll talk about what are the opportunities and the challenges in this space so that our audience can understand the opportunities and also how they can achieve their dream of reactive to predictive into the asset management. Let me try to set some context. So maintenance is never been a highly regulated area of any industry. Of course, maintenance has been prevalent into the asset intensive industries like oil and gas, manufacturing, chemical, petrochemical, and it's been at the forefront there, but it hasn't gained the same level of traction and the attention from all the industries. And there is a lot of opportunity of improving the current state of the asset management in every industry now. Some of the factors which impact the asset management, of course, labor workforce, unionized workforces, standards of maintenance, regulations which differ by country, region, and even some cases state, and also the zeal of the leadership to achieve the to go to the next level of predictability. Also, we have seen the organization like public versus private has also a level of impact on where the maintenance or the asset management is in specific organization. In industry, nothing happens without a stick. So there has to be a carrot and a stick, right? So the consequences also forces organization to get to a level or implement more changes, because everything cost, and cost impacts the bottom line, and everybody looks at that from the top. So I believe personally that asset management has been always on the back burner for most of the organization whenever there is an investment is involved. So let's talk today, and the last and final debate, which is in developing and underdeveloped countries, is labor versus automation. It's always gets to there where what I can achieve with the availability of the labor workforce than the automation. It's both. It's social and also economic. So with that, I will open up the forum for us to discuss. So first topic, I would like to get to you, Nabil. What is asset management? Let's hear from you and your views about what is asset management.
Thank you, Shrikant. Very pleased to join this panel discussion, and good meeting you for the first time, and also my fellow panelists on the forum here. Although we started discussion on the maintenance, what I want to do is to really put maintenance within the overall context of asset management. Let me first of all introduce the key terms which are now defined in the ISO standard, ISO 55000 in particular. So asset is defined as anything, an item, thing, or entity that holds potential value for the organization. However, asset management is the coordinated activity of an organization which unlocks that value for the organization and the stakeholders. So asset management is not focused just on the asset, what we do with the asset, but really how we utilize and manage those assets to deliver value for the organization and the stakeholders. So it's very much focused on the value and outcomes. So in that context, obviously, maintenance has a key role to play, and obviously how you ensure reliable performance of assets and reducing the cost of maintenance is key to that. But it goes much beyond that, actually. Asset management, as I said, looks at how an organization coordinates all its activities, right from engineering activities, projects to create new assets, as well as operations, maintenance, including HR, finance, IT, procurement. All these functions need to be done in a coordinated way to maximize value for the organization from the investment it makes in assets. So that's the kind of perspective we want to take for this panel discussion, and discuss obviously predictive maintenance within that wider context. So the ISO 55000 standards were first published in 2014, and that has been a collaborative exercise around 36 countries around the world, involving more than 100 key experts and more than 600 organizations actually feeding their experience in developing those standards. I was fortunate to lead one of the two international expert groups over a 3-year period from 2011 to 2014 to produce the first set of standards. These standards are currently being revised after 5 years experience, and I'm again participating in that revision exercise. So basically, the standard sets out the key principles, foundational principles for good asset management, and we'll pick up some of those key principles during the discussion today. But the most important thing is that assets should be seen as a value, not as a cost. Yeah, that's quite important change in mindset. It also brings in the principle of alignment and integration. As I mentioned earlier, all the different efforts and activities within the organization need to work together to deliver that value. It also need to take a whole life and longer term perspective, rather than just looking at how can I maximize my revenue or production this year, at the cost of kind of cutting down maintenance. It doesn't work really in the longer term. So it set down those core principles, and more important is the role of leadership and the culture and competence of people, how important that is for good asset management. And also the last one I would mention is that the organization need to learn on an ongoing basis to understand how assets are performing, how the policies and plans and studies are working, and make continual improvement through innovation, adoption of new technologies and work practices. That's really in a nutshell what asset management is about. As you see, it embraces all many different aspects that need to come together in a coordinated way.
Thank you, Nabil. I think you mentioned very important point, the standards, and nice to meet you too, who has been involved into the developing the standards. And the key point you mentioned is about the asset. People have to treat asset as a value, not as a liability, and that's a very key message. Let me come to Sumit. Sumit, do you have anything to add here?
Thank you, Shrikant, and I think Nabil very succinctly put the whole scope of asset management. But I think the very important aspect of asset management is the senior management buy-in, because like was mentioned earlier, that it's quite often this is seen as a cost center, but really this is the implications of not doing it well is far greater than the cost of doing this. What I mean is that people often miss out on the fact of the cost of lost production, the cost of downtime, the cost to repair those downtime, and also issues like impacts on health and safety of the workmen. So in that sense, I think it's extremely important that the senior management needs to appreciate and understand all the aspects about asset management and understand the holistic impact of not doing it well or not doing it right. And I think the time has come that this gets appreciated more, especially with the decision makers. Back to you.
Thank you, Sumit. Thank you very much. Let's move on to the next topic. What are the challenges implementing asset management? Well, of course, there are challenges, and as you mentioned, Sumit, it's loud and clear. The zeal of the leadership, the management buy-in is extremely important. And with that, let's move to the challenges in implementing. I would like again Sumit to talk about what is the senior management perspective. What do you see?
Well, quite often what happens is that there is a senior management intent about doing this. So I don't think whenever you go to a CEO or a CFO, they don't see the value there. They clearly see it. The challenge is when it's kind of gets to be deployed at the next level. And typically the answer is, okay, I understand what you're saying, but now let's talk to the operations team or the maintenance team and say that, okay, how do we get this implemented? And that's where the challenge starts. Because first of all, I think quite often in established industries, the maintenance person thinks that, when somebody is trying to come and suggest these kind of initiatives, he or she will be questioned about what they've been doing all these years. So it starts from there. And that is where I think that this message needs to go loud and clear. One, this needs to be done. And this needs to be done for reasons beyond, let's say, single plant or the single line that we are working on. And this has a far bigger corporate implication for the company. And it's also important at the same time to give the assurance and the support to the larger team that is going to implement it, that this is not a way to reduce workforce or to reduce costs, reduce manpower, which is the typical concern people have on the asset management journey. And that is what actually causes a lot of failures. The second point is, I think whenever we get into this asset management, it's also to understand what is the level that of maturity that the organization has. As was shown in the first slide, you cannot be in breakdown maintenance mode and try to implement the highest level of proactive maintenance. It is guaranteed to fail. It's a journey, and these are multiple steps that you need to kind of handhold the organization and take it along as they reach the higher levels of maturity. So I think these are the two important things where the senior management plays a very critical role.
Very well said, Sumit. Especially people need to migrate through the maturity curve. They cannot go from step 1 to step 4 in one day. And I think people need to understand that the digital transformation journey has to be put into perspective effectively. Thank you very much. Let me come to you, Satya. You are leading a large organization, very well positioned into the asset management. So tell us, what are your challenges?
Thank you, Shrikant. I think I definitely agree with Sumit. Organizations need to realize it's a multi-year journey. It's not something you start today and start expecting results next week, right? So people need to have the patience, and people also need to think about end-to-end processes, end-to-end workflows. It doesn't help if you just start looking at a small component and think that will solve all your problems. The other thing that at least that I've seen in our organization is that various business units are at various ends of the maturity, right? So making sure that all of them go through the grind and kind of taking those baby steps to get to an eventual state is definitely the way to go. When it gets to the actual practical implementation of things, you start seeing issues like there's multiple systems that the organizations use. There's multiple entities, multiple business units that you need to kind of align and govern towards one set of processes, etc. Data ends up being a key component, especially master data. I mean, a screw needs to be a screw across the organization. I can't call it a screw and you can't call it a nut. So we definitely need to have the master data governance, identifying what are those master data objects, etc. All these components end up becoming key. The other piece of the whole EAM approach would be talent. I mean, at the end of the day, we need people to kind of do the whole stuff. So we need to ensure, and we will definitely get into this discussion today, I hope, on how talent plays a key role, but making sure the right people are trained for the right job with the right skills is also one of the key challenges that we come across. And I think at the end of the day, looking at it from a macro perspective, whatever we do, all these activities need to tie back to the bottom line of the organization, right? We need to start getting some value of whatever initiatives we take from an asset management perspective. And at least from what I see, it needs to improve one of these two things. Either it needs to improve the reliability of your assets, or it needs to reduce the total cost of operations for your assets. And that way, that's how it ends up being a key contributor to the bottom line and therefore to the net profitability of the organizations.
Excellent. Thank you. I think very, very good points. Multi-year journey, master data. And I think you brought us to the depth of the asset management by introducing the screw into this discussion than just leaving it at the standard and very high level. So thank you very much for that. So talent does play a big role. I think this is a good segue, and I'll request Satya you to continue if you would. How do you look at developing talent within your organization?
Sure. I think when it comes to EAM, right, it's not just the IT component of it, right? Enabling or digitizing it is one component of the whole journey. Whereas if you look at it for enterprise asset management as a whole, I would say an initiative, then there are multiple components that are involved, right? It starts with figuring out what your asset management policies are, what your asset management strategy is, what are your plans, how do you implement the plans, how do you improve the reliability or the cost of operations of your assets, identifying risks, continuous improvement, and at the end of all of it, knowledge, because these are assets. You need it's a lot of IP, right? It's a lot of proprietary knowledge on these applications. So managing all of this knowledge also ends up becoming a key component. So if you look at what I've just listed, there are probably like 8 or 9 different sets of roles or different types of responsibilities that we are looking at. So ensuring we get the right people trained for these roles is also equally key as getting people who have the IT knowledge to be able to implement these solutions. So I think in the EAM world, the functional knowledge ends up being the most key component, and making sure you have the right people with the functional knowledge of how the assets operate, how the assets are maintained, etc., ends up becoming the key component of the whole story. And I would also say, as I said, competency becomes critical, and competency is not just training of people, right? We need to ensure our people are trained. We need to ensure they actually gather relevant practical experience. And we also need to ensure they keep undergoing periodic assessments to ensure that they keep managing and maintaining their competency. And that's how we do it in Schlumberger. And I think that sets a good foundation stone for any organization who wants to embark on this journey to kind of take that path.
Thank you, Satya, for sharing some of your secret sauces with the team. I'll let Naveen to add, if you Naveen, to the talent development area, please.
Yes, definitely. I'll build on what Satya was saying, actually. So people competency in asset is very, very important. And in fact, the ISO 55000 standards actually have a 3 or 4 clauses relating to how you engage with people, how you develop people, and what competencies they need to have for the various roles. To support this requirement, if I may add, mention about the IAM, which is the Institute of Asset Management, which is a premium body in the area of asset management. It started off as an UK body, but now it's a worldwide institution with the chapters in many countries. I actually happen to chair the knowledge leadership group of IAM. So developing asset knowledge and developing people is a core part of my activity over there. Fortunately, IAM has now come up with a asset management competency framework, which very much what Satya was saying defines 7 key roles in asset management. And supporting the 7 key roles, they have defined 42 individual competencies that are required across the group. And they have also defined various qualifications now and training specifications. And they also have a scheme of training endorsing trainers to deliver asset management training. So if I could just mention the website address, theiam.org. So people can go there and find out a lot of very useful information for both organizations' maturity journey, but also individual maturity journey. And you can also see on that a complete career path is now available for asset managers. Within my own organization, within Atkinson and CL, I chair the Center of Excellence in this. And one of my role is to develop and bring people into the profession and provide them a complete career path. So we have various levels which are recognized qualifications from the IAM and the world body, from foundation level to certificate level, then diploma level, then becoming a chartered professional in asset management, going all the way up to a fellow of asset management. The complete career path is now available, so people can actually aspire to progress in this area.
That was, thank you. So we have heard the real life challenges from Satya and the standards and what's available for our audience to take the advantage from Naveen. Thank you very much. Now let's move on to size up the price to get it right. It's always a challenge. What's the cost and what it takes to get it there? And that's where a lot of times, like what Sumit mentioned before, the buck stops there, right? So in that case, why don't you, Sumit, take a couple of minutes and tell us a little bit more what you started before. Size of the price to get it right.
It's a very interesting topic, because if the returns vis-a-vis the costs, actually I don't even know whether we can estimate it, because the cost of not doing things is far higher especially when it leads to a catastrophic failure and those kind of situations. But I want to touch on another aspect here, which is digitalization, which is going on simultaneously with asset management. And often what happens is that it is very important for the management to describe from the beginning what is the expectations and outcome of the digitalization journey, because this is now more and more an integral part of the asset management journey. And very often it's become very fashionable to say that, we are implementing Industry 4.0. And unfortunately, what most people do is just create a digital dashboard that they can see on their mobiles or on their computer screens. The question is, what do you do with the data that is available, which anyway the maintenance or the operations guy could see on the field? And this is where I think the next level of evolution, if you like, is happening, where we are using AI and machine learning to ensure that we make this much more intelligent and more proactive, So we are going to be able to detect and take corrective actions far before anything goes wrong. And I think that's the real size of the prize. That's the ultimate journey where you kind of take care of the problem even before it starts, or when it is just started. That would be the real big game changer going forward.
Thank you, Sumit. I think you said it very well. Naveen, would you like to add anything to this?
Yeah, I could add probably from the experience of my own supporting several organizations to go through this journey. And it is, as pointed out earlier, it's not a 1 or 2 year project, which you can do and finish off. It's an ongoing journey. And the IAM actually defines the maturity scale from 1 to 5. 3 being a competent organization in assignment, which is when you'll be fully meeting the requirements of the ISO standard. But to be excellent, it takes a lot more years and a lot more maturity and experience to accumulate. And real prize actually starts beyond actually meeting the minimum requirements of the standard. And what we have seen from working with various organizations such as Network Rail in the UK, Heathrow Airport, Transport for London, MTR in Hong Kong, and the like, the benefits are huge actually. So most business cases will be quite happy for a kind of a benefit cost ratio of 3, but here you can actually achieve up to 30 ratio, but that's over a longer term. So what we have got some now real life data coming from leading organizations in this area, which show that it is possible to achieve up to 30% reduction in whole life costs. At the same time, 30% improvement in performance, be it revenue growth, or it could be production capacity, whatever you want to, whatever is appropriate for your organization. It is possible to get double benefit, both reduction cost, at the same time improvement in performance. But the real prize, as Sumit was alluding earlier, is the robust management of risk, because you have a very robust framework for understanding what can go wrong. So, and now we have the power of the digital technology to help you monitor things in real time. So through predictive modeling, you can actually predict when some catastrophic event can happen, which critical asset can break down, so that you can take preventive action. So combination of these 3 will give a lot of benefit, which is unlikely to achieve that just through efficient saving or through kind of a reduction in headcount. So that's not really is the way to go. By taking a more strategic, longer term approach, an organization can achieve huge benefits. And this is journey. I would emphasize that again. Yeah.
Very well. Appreciate that. Let's talk about, I have a last and probably a fun topic where I would like you to take 30 seconds and tell anything you come across right now. It doesn't have to be in asset management, which amazed you, something exciting and impacting you right now. Just start with Sumit, please, if you remember anything.
Well, I think, in fact, when we were, discussing about this, the statistics that Neville said was really something which was awesome. 30% reduction with 30% improvement in uptime. That's really awesome. First time I'm seeing real world numbers of that magnitude, and he has the data to back it.
Oh, good, excellent, thank you. How about you, Satya?
I think it's a very exciting space, especially all the new stuff that's coming up in terms of machine learning and AI. I think it has a lot of contributing factor to how we manage our assets. And this is one area where I'm actually excited to get more of kind of predicting when an equipment would fail ahead of time in real time, and kind of preventing that failure from happening is a lot and lots of non-productive time saving or cost avoidance. And I think that's a very big pie, like Sumit and Navil were talking about, right, in terms of what you get back. So getting the whole AI, ML enabled into a real-time maintenance and operations, I think is something that really excites me. That's a journey we are on in the organization, and I think has a massive scope to achieve gains for the organization as well as industry as a whole.
Thank you. Navil, please.
Yeah, what excites me is not just one technology, really, how we bring all these things together and make a meaningful impact for the long term. I was quite excited to do complete a project recently with a Middle East client, They have been on this journey for 8 years now, and they are already certified to ISO standard, maturity level of 3.5. But we actually produced a enhanced, more advanced strategy for them and a roadmap for the next 5 to 10 years, which brought together global mega trends, what is happening on the technology space, around the political space, particularly the impact of COVID now, how it will change our lives going forward. All of these have a huge influence on how you create and manage assets. Actually, we have taken all those mega trends together to chart a journey for them. And for me, the satisfaction is our clients and major infrastructure owners actually taking their journey and achieving real benefits, which will in turn support the whole society. Really, that's what excites me most. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, thank you. So the recent innovation, what excited me is not directly related to asset management, but I'm very fascinated by this driverless car or vehicle without a driver. I think this is very exciting. I see, especially into the developed countries, it's going to bring that supply chain automation and many more opportunities in this area where there are many regulations. Of course, it's a long way to go. I'll be looking forward to get into a car without a driver and get to a place where I want with sleep, right? Deep sleep. I think it's going to be sleepless at the beginning. Now, thank you very much. It was a great discussion. I would like to get to the conclusion. I have captured few points. Naveen, you mentioned about the asset as a value. I think it's very important. Organization needs to start looking assets as a profit, may not be a profit center, but something as a value than a cost center. Sumit mentioned about the buy-in for the leadership, from the leadership. It's very important. Leadership needs to understand that it's a long-term journey. It's not a day one, and you will be able to see the downtime in the operation. Uptime in the operation. Being into the industry and on the services side, I frequently get questions. Okay, you're going to implement this solution. How much manufacturing I'm going to improve in 6 months? And that's not the right question. I think leadership needs to understand that this is not something you put in today and get tomorrow. It's a long journey, but it's a sustainable journey which they can cherish for a long period of time. Second thing I captured today is, and understood from you guys, is I don't think there are widely known return of investment calculation models available to the broader audience. People are not able to predict effectively, if I put this much money, what's my output over a period of time. I don't think it's available to general audience. And I think there is a need for that, to be able to prove that, this is what is going to happen, and this is your today's NPV, and this is how you can see the output at the end. Of course, we talked about automation versus labor. Master data. I completely agree with Satya. Master data plays a very key role into the asset management. Another topic I have seen across the globe is aging workforce, and they are going to take the knowledge away. Today, if you go to many plants, the guy who has done this for 30 years, he knows by heart. You wake him in the night and he will tell you. But what's going to happen when he's gone tomorrow? That knowledge base has to be implemented somewhere. And how do you do that? When you hire somebody from the street, that he should be able to function, may not be 100%, but at least to the 80% efficiency of the guy who is leaving. And that you can only achieve by getting that knowledge base built somewhere. And that's where the Industry 4.0 comes into picture. Of course, the situation like what we are going through, pandemic, globalization, breaking trade barriers, is forcing organizations to go from how they do it today and how we can do it differently so that we are competitive, right? The competition is what drives everybody. So finally, I know this is very common in our language, is we always work for increasing the wrench time. We always work for increasing the predictability. And where it boils down to is increasing the uptime of the equipment and reducing the downtime of the equipment. That's what matters to everybody, right? So let's work towards together. And thank you very much for joining today and your views. And I'm sure this will be very helpful to the audience. Thank you, Amita.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Shrikant, for this wonderful session and stitching the entire discussion. Thank you, panelists Sumit, Satya, and Neville for joining us today and presenting such an insightful discussion. Last but not least, thank you, audience, for being a patient listener and for being there. Thank you.